Tom Areton.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure to meet you too.
Right.
Hey, thank you for your time. I had a chance to visit your museum about a month ago
Yes.
with my dear friend, good cameraman Mike Human. Thank you for your
Hi,
time,
Mike.
Mike, as well.
Hi.
And we were just impressed on a number of levels, the collection and the information that comes out with this. I mean, what a treasure this museum is.
Right.
So give us a quick history. I know from doing my research that you and your wife Lilka, who's a big part of this as well, we don't want to
Yes,
leave her out.
yes.
You guys were doing a student exchange program which gave you,
Yes.
okay, tell us about that a little bit.
Well, we co-founded this museum as a hobby. In 1980, my wife and I started a non-profit student exchange program, which is still operating, and I'm still the executive director, called Cultural Homestay International, CHI. And so we've been doing it for 43 years. We take about 12 to 14,000 students, bring them to the United States on 7 different programs for over 100 countries now. And we send American students over to other countries. I think we're like 20, 23 countries, where they stay with local families and learn about the other countries and the culture in kind of an intimate setting. So we've been doing this. It's been a love of our lives. We actually started it because we were so sick of our little children sitting in front of the TV watching 200 rerun of Flintstones in the summer.
Right.
And so we decided to host a student, a young Japanese junior high school girl. She came here for 2 weeks. And it completely changed our family. My
Right.
children stopped watching Flintstones. I have nothing against Flintstones.
Right.
They started learning about Japan. We fell in love with her after 3-4 days, and when she left, we felt really there was this kind of feeling of emptiness. One thing that we realized, that if it takes only 4 days to fall in love with another person from a completely different culture who can hardly speak your language, there is hope for humanity. So after
Beautiful.
she left, my children said, "Can we host again?" And so we started hosting
Beautiful.
foreign students, and that really was the inception of our idea. At that time, I had a small nonprofit educational organization about economics, and so we said, well, why don't we use it? And we had a friend in Japan, and let's try to start our own. So that happened in December, but we quit our 2 good jobs. Our parents thought we were insane, and I went to Japan. My wife stayed here, and we prepared this kind of what we call the homestay program, where kids come for 3 or 4 weeks, stay with American volunteer families. And it was interesting. It was in December 1980 when my friend and I would started visiting high schools in Japan. And I have a it's a deep memory on many levels, because that was the time when I was in Japan that John Lennon was assassinated. So that's forever connected in my mind.
Okay.
And we succeeded our very first year, 1981, we already had 1,000 students. We hardly slept, and next year we had 2,000, 4,000, but 1987 we had over 10,000 students. So we were hiring, training, it was a heady days, halcyon days, and it worked out, and it's still one of the largest student organizations in the United States. So 8 years ago, in the process, we were collecting the political propaganda. We were always interested in political propaganda. So, our family room was filled with posters and statues and all that. So about 8 years ago, we sat down and said, so what are we going to do with all this? And it was always in the back of our minds that we should start a museum. So that started this.
Several good points I could riff off that, right?
Yeah.
That was great information. But propaganda, I think, is interesting to everyone, but yet few really delve into what it really is. Is that by design?
I think, that's a very good question. I think that propagandists would say, I have a propaganda to offer, but I want to do it in such a way that you don't really know that you are being propagandized. In fact, I would say if you have a certain belief, right, and it's a belief that was actually inculcated in your brain by a skillful propagandist, but you think that it's your idea that you came freely to and all that, then the propagandist has done its job. So you don't really know, and young people today, they don't really know that they're being propagandized. So yes, propaganda is everywhere, but a skillful propagandist does it in such a way that you don't really know that your information has been manipulated.
I noticed in the brochure too, you use the phrase "the art of propaganda."
Yeah, I learned that when I was born in Czechoslovakia. I don't know if I mentioned that, which was then a socialist country, and so I'm fluent in Russian as well. And the Russians, and even actually in Czechoslovakia, the belief was that if art does not serve the state in some way or is not active politically, then it's really no good. I mean, the phrase is that it should be art of fighting. I know it's not an English kind of a proper word, but art of fighting, that was a phrase that was used in Russian, in Czech, and Slovak, was the purpose, and I do remember that our authorities were always laughing at American movies that said, ars gratia artis, no, art for art's sake. What is that? It's like wasted art. Art should not be for art's sake. Art should have a political end to it. Otherwise,
Yeah, so forget the individual mental or emotional improvement or enhancement, which is, I think, the original focus
yeah,
of art.
of course, we all love art, right? No.
Right.
But of course, the belief, propagandists' belief, is that art should have some purpose, and that purpose should be spreading ideas, influencing people to predetermined ends that the propagandist wants.
Okay, so give us a quick definition of propaganda, and then let's go on this exciting tour.
Okay, well, that's very good. In fact, we have lost our light. In fact, it's right here in the very beginning of this museum.
Oh, okay.
It says propaganda is a calculated manipulation of information designed to shape public opinion and behavior to predetermined ends that the propagandist wants.
Okay.
It's basically, propaganda has many faces, many heads. Some is designed to increase enthusiasm about something. The other one is to demonize a particular group of people, that you disagree. Whatever the propagandist wants as the goal or was hired to do as a goal, that's basically where propaganda goes.
Okay.
But at its essence, it's a manipulation of information, and people who do it are very good at it. It is repetitive, it is emotional, it is binary, it's yes or no, you're with us or you're against us, and then really don't want to know what you really think. And so it's a manipulation of information in a very skillful way, so you don't actually know that you are being propagandized.
Yeah, when I was in college at Chico State, I remember closed-end questions.
Yeah.
And when you're doing surveys for focus groups, right, to find out if your ideas will fly,
Yeah.
they wanted you to phrase your questions, and they call them closed-end questions, so you could just get yes or no.
Exactly.
And we didn't see that as harmful at all. It was just, that's just the way you do it, right? And then I grew up and realized that there's a nefarious side to public relations. Sure. And so last question before we get started. Looking around here, we're going to see a lot of ways in which public relations is used in a negative way. Are there any governments that use public relations in a good way?
Well, yes, I would say there is a propaganda that you and I might say, this is really wonderful, or that I have a particular poster from Great Britain with the suffragettes, for women wanting their voting rights.
Okay.
And it's a wonderful poster.
Okay.
I love that poster. So I would say, since I think that women should have voting rights, that this poster was really for good.
Right.
So, while most of the propaganda, you kind of say, oh, I wonder what was behind this.
Right.
And quite often it's really something nefarious. But on the other hand, you know, there is a propaganda. There are posters that are maybe more in the nature of information, but of course, stirring hatred or inspiring love for the leader or whatever. It's really okay. Yeah, that's really primary. But as I said, you know, there are some posters that follow or that support an idea that universally you could say this is a good idea.
Because I think that's important for people to know that propaganda itself isn't evil. It's just a tool. It's just a series of techniques, right?
Yeah. Well, they say that about guns, you know, guns don't kill people, it's people behind those guns.
Right. That's true. Well,
people who pull the trigger.
same with a hammer. A hammer could build a house, or it could bludgeon your neighbor.
Exactly.
Right. So.
Right. So there's a duality. Let me just say this because you already touched on that. Is that let's see. It's just this, the point that I wanted to make escaped me this very second. I think that comes with age.
It'll come back to you.
It'll come back to me, like lots of things come to me at 2 a.m.
Sure.
every morning.
Right, it'll come back to you.
Yeah. So let's just go around. And
Let's go around.
let me show you some highlights.
Do we want to start with the Lenin picture behind you, or do you want to end with that?
That's very interesting
Okay.
because there's a story behind everything in
Okay,
this
okay.
museum. And we've been collecting it for 30 years. Most of it we either bought or were gifted, or people would just bring it here and leave. Also, our students, and so we have handled, you know, 500,000 students over the last 43 years. They know that we are interested, you know. So when we go and visit them, and my wife and I have already visited about 100 countries, they bring us stuff, you know. So some of that is from our students, you know. So we are really lucky that we have this kind of a support. The other thing too is that propaganda is so vast that this little space cannot possibly envelope propaganda. There's religious propaganda, it's commercial propaganda, all kinds. So we decided to focus, otherwise it would be too scattered. So our museum is about the political propaganda of the last century. So you will not find here Reagan or Obama or whatever. That's this century. Although we do have some gifts that people gave us, some wonderful Reagan slippers with his and his wife. But the museum is really about the propaganda of the last century, and last century had plenty of propaganda, I can assure you. So it's
well,
never.
and I noticed some Trump stuff that's over there.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that when we pass.
Yeah, that's just something that people gave to us, you know. And we actually, when Trump was elected, a little while later, we did have an exhibition in this part of the museum where we changed installations. Was artists about Trump, and was really interesting because we wanted it to be balanced to some degree, right? But all the artists were anti-Trump, so there was just nothing there that was kind to him or whatever.
Right.
That was an interesting point too. But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do have some Reagan. There's Mrs. Clinton is in there too, I think.
Okay.
But that is just this kind of a sideshow that people gave us. We put it on a little table.
So the Lenin picture was a gift from one of the students.
Actually, this picture is an interesting picture. It's Lenin. Most young people today have no idea who this man is. If they're going to say Lenin, they say Lenin. And quite often we would go for student business to Warsaw, Poland. And there is a soccer stadium in the middle of Warsaw that hasn't seen soccer in decades. In fact, they stole all the wooden benches and all for firewood. But around the stadium is the largest flea market in probably Eastern Europe, called Jarmark Europa. I don't know if it's still there, but it was there for many years. And there you could buy everything from Russian caviar to DVDs, to CDs, all bootleg stuff.
Okay.
But also art. And I used to go around looking for items, you know, for our museum, and I saw this rolled up canvas, so that always attracted me, and I opened it up, and it was this.
Wow.
And I said, wow, this is beautifully painted. It was unsigned, but whoever painted it was really, maybe even academic painter. And so I said, how much do you want for it? And the guy said, $75. I said, I'll give you 45. He said, okay, it's a deal. So I bought it, rolled it up. We brought it to California. We had it framed, and now it hangs right behind me. I have no idea who painted it,
Right.
but I'm really impressed by the mastery of the painter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't look so evil.
No. Well,
Just like he's
you know what?
probably-
I don't think I've ever seen a picture of Lenin that looked evil. Stalin, yes, but Lenin, no. And this is a very nicely done picture. So that's the
Right.
story of Vladimir
Okay.
Ilyich Ulyanov. And we have some other interesting items like this.
Okay, let's go take a look.
Yes.
You start wherever you feel comfortable. How's that?
Yes, I.
Okay.
I probably have something to say about everything, but we have no time for that.
I can imagine.
Let me
You are
try
full of
to-
stories,
There we go.
and if you
Yes.
if you feel like you got a good story to tell, just stretch your wings.
Yes, well, youth and leaders go together like bread and butter because, young people are the future, right? So that's why you see Stalin with a young, cute boy, and the two ruthless killers from North Korea, Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, surrounded by a bevy of kids. It's a little disturbing. And there's Mao Zedong with a young kid pointing into the future. And
Just it
It's
exudes
typical.
like caring
for
the future and
their
compassion.
future is assured, and it's caring, it's empathetic, it's great, yeah. So that is a very familiar subject for propagandists. See
And,
that all
and
the time.
ironic though at the same time because that's
Well,
not
yeah.
really what the reality
No,
is, and
no.
that's the whole point of the
That's the whole-
propaganda.
that's the whole point of propaganda, right? Here is an interesting little piece that I kind of show to people. We all know about 1989 Tiananmen Square,
Right.
where all these students were, kind of suppressed in a really vile way, and all the soldiers who were who were there, and we know they killed some students too. They got a present from the government, a watch. And I made that watch, we enlarged this little bit here, and it says calming rioters, that's what they called them, in June 1989, and shows a soldier and this inscription. I bought it from a soldier who wanted $200 for it. As much as I hate to pay so much money, I said, this would be a valuable thing to have, so I bought that watch.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I had that picture in my head of the student standing in front of the tank,
that's right,
and then
right.
then the tank trying to move, and he steps
And
in
his
front
steps,
of
it's a brilliant, I know, a courageous man.
It's,
Yes, and they had that Statue of Liberty right there,
Right.
and all that. So all the soldiers who suppressed it got a watch. So,
They're kind of like Ike and Tina Turner, right? When he would abuse Tina Turner, he'd buy her flowers or a Cadillac or something after that, right? Just
That's
to kind
right.
of smooth it over.
Exactly, right. So, I was in a little village in Slovakia called Liptovská Lužna, and I stayed in this a house that's a log cabin, basically. And in the cabin was a wedding picture of the lady who took me in, black and white. And I said, could I take a better look at it? And she said, sure. So we took it off the wall, and I looked in the back to see where that picture was taken. And there, on the back of this mat of this photograph was this. I said, oh my God, I need this, I must have it. It's a picture of Stalin. It was done by maybe a local villager who felt very grateful that they were liberated, so he felt, a feeling that he wanted to express himself, cut out the picture of Stalin from a magazine, and then painted what he was, a sunrise in Moscow. It's not accurate. And then she used it as a back for her wedding photograph. So she said, okay, you can have it, just get me another piece of cardboard. So I
And it
did.
just kind of gives you that sense that he's got a vision for the city
Vision too,
that's
yeah.
behind him, right?
And the guy who did it was probably a simple peasant, farmer, or whatever, but he felt very grateful. he felt that he wanted to express himself. It's really unique.
Or at least placate the powers that be so they would get off his back, maybe.
Well, I don't know this. I don't know the story, but that, you never know what happened.
Right.
I would like to, kind of lean on the goodness of the
Okay.
person. All right. So we have chapters. Like this is the first chapter is leader idealization, because one of the biggest jobs of propaganda is to idealize the leader. That's who usually pays them.
Right.
Yeah. So here we have a Hitler getting flowers from little children. Well, this is also from North Korea. I want you to notice this. This was from Havana. I took this is Che Guevara.
Che Guevara,
He
right.
repeats a lot in propaganda in many different countries. He was a modest man, but after his death, like here, he becomes
He's deified.
totally deified. He is out of the realm of reality and earth and whatever. He was a modest man, but if he knew that today you can buy Che Guevara t-shirts, diapers, playing cards, vodka, shoes, and energy drinks.
Diapers, really?
He would be turning, yes.
That
Che Guevara
seems kind of
diapers.
appropriate, actually.
You could say he's still with us, but of course if he knew this, he would probably turn in his grave. Yeah, it's talking about deification. In propaganda, bigger is better, very often. So
Okay.
the bigger you make it, better. So if you look at this picture I took outside of Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia, this is Genghis Khan.
Okay.
And if you look very carefully, there's like little ants up here on top. Look like little ants. Those are people.
Oh, wow.
Yes. This is a huge statue. You take an elevator up here, and then you walk through the horse. You walk out of the little door over here, and then you go upstairs, and you're on a viewing platform.
Wow.
Big.
So you
Yeah.
go up through the horse's butt, and then out through his
Basically, you
groin.
take the elevator, go through the horse, and then when you get out of the little door, you can still look up at Genghis Khan from here, and then go upstairs to a viewing platform. It's made out of aluminum. It shines for miles.
Wow.
Impressive, right?
Very, very impressive, right?
Here, here is an interesting thing. Here is young Hitler, and that I also found in Warsaw
Okay.
at that Jarmark Europa. But this, one morning, we came to the museum, and this was in front of the door. No note, no one claiming that they can get charitable deduction. This Nazi ashtray with some beautiful inlaid cloisonne. And of course, I've never actually seen such a thing until it appeared in front of our door. I don't know who brought it here, what motivated them. They were probably ashamed to have it in
There's
their
nothing
own
more than when you're sitting back to have a nice, relaxing smoke that you're just reminded of the Nazis.
house. Of the Nazis, yeah, right.
The Nazis, yes.
A lot of posters we get are kind of deteriorated. And like, for instance, this one from Slovakia was kind of eaten by the rats. We found it behind, on a wall behind a cabinet. And it was kind of eaten by mice or rats or whatever. So we took a picture of it before it deteriorated further.
That's Russian?
Slovak.
Slovak, okay.
Yeah, this is berating Americans for their hydrogen bomb monopoly. Says, you're not gonna threaten us.
What a good-looking guy, too.
Yeah. He's a kind of a prototypical. Yeah.
So any country that was dominated by Russia,
Yeah.
that propaganda just flowed into it. I think
Yeah.
Hungary is another country.
Oh yeah. This is from the Spanish Civil War. It's really ghoulish. Shows Franco's forces never really conquered Madrid, but they bombed hell out of it. And these were children who died in the bombing. And so the Republicans used it in the poster, branding them assassins. It's particularly ghoulish, showing dead children. But we do have a lot of American propaganda. People ask us, well, do you have American propaganda?
Right.
Of course. We
Oh,
have
right.
plenty of it. And let's see, which one to show you first?
Sure.
This is an interesting one. Let's go ahead. It's kind of more difficult to understand.
Okay.
But it, 1941, the Sheldon Clare Company was U.S. Office of Emergency Management, produced this over 60 posters. You could buy them in department stores everywhere. They were already framed with a light, so they want you to plug it in. That showed how this was anti-Nazi, supposed to be anti-Nazi posters in 1941. After the war, it pivoted into anti-communist posters. And this shows what a wonderful place America is. Keep it free. And it shows really the America of the 1940s. When people look at it today, say, wow, we were like this.
Yeah, is that even our
And
country?
yeah, this is America, where a man can say, this is mine, where every man has a right to have his own farm, his own business, his own home. This is your America, keep it free. And, look at this.
Yeah. Today, private
with more
property.
motor. I mean, now you would say, what? Is
Yeah.
this really? But it was really big. It sold thousands. And it shows you kind of a snapshot of what America was. Anti-Nazi and anti-communist.
So in a way, this is very positive.
Yeah, it's in a way it is. Sometimes at that time, of course, now it's just kind of a conundrum, but before then it was totally positive.
Right.
And we do have, propaganda could be positive, you asked me about that. And here is one of my favorite,
Okay.
which was a positive right behind us. This is actually from United Kingdom from 1913, when women tried to get their vote. And so here is a poster that says what a woman may be and yet not have the vote. Mayor, nurse, mother, doctor or teacher, factory hand. Now what a man may have been and yet not lose the vote. Convict, lunatic, proprietor of white slaves, whatever that means, unfit for service and drunkard, and yet they will not lose the vote. So,
Pointing out the hypocrisy.
so this was 1913. By 1918, women got their vote. So it
Wow.
worked.
Okay.
Yes. Right. Okay, so this is another chapter in propaganda. I was mentioning that bigger is better.
Yes.
When socialism ended in Hungary, instead of destroying the statues like we've been doing in the United States recently,
Right.
they gathered them up and put them in one place called the Statues Park. It's on the outskirts of Budapest.
Okay.
I highly recommend it. It's fantastic. Among those statues is this one here, monument to the short-lived Hungarian Soviet Republic. It's difficult to tell, but when I was standing next to the statue, and I'm 6 feet, I reached like up to here.
Okay.
This is 6 feet.
Okay.
It's giant,
Right.
towers over you.
And is that a worker or something?
It was a
Specific
revolutionary there was a short-lived Hungarian Socialist Republic in 1919, and this guy represents a revolutionary.
character? Okay.
Yeah, amazing. I don't know how they cast it, but
Right.
it's really, often one of the biggest producers of propaganda, of course, was Soviet Union. Some of them were really, artistically speaking, amazing. And so here is one who's kind of cubist. They really got good at doing it. Here is the Soviet Rosie the Riveter. She says, I will exchange, meaning I will do their work. We will
While they're
the
at
labor.
war, they'll be.
While they're at war, I will replace you.
We had similar stuff in America as well.
Yeah, Rosie the Riveter was one of
Okay.
them. Yeah.
You
So
just
this
said-
is theirs, yeah, right.
So was Rosie the Riveter? Was that E.L. Bernays? Or was that?
I don't know if it was him. He was Torches of Freedom,
He was. I've seen that quote. He wanted to give
Yes.
women their own penises, and that riffing off of his uncle Sigmund
Yeah,
Freud.
sure, right.
And people laugh at Freud nowadays, right?
Yeah.
But yet, according to E.L. Bernays, that worked.
That worked, yeah.
He got women to
He
swim.
was a double nephew, actually.
Double nephew. Okay.
This, I think I was in Kazakhstan, and along the road you find all kinds of statues
This one up here?
to the peace shall win over war, and those kind of things. Really fascinating. So, we don't have enough time. Here's our little Chinese section. Somebody donated this for us. Most of it is from the Cultural Revolution, and almost everybody is holding the Mao's Red Book.
Right.
You quickly learn the characters from Mao. You know, starts like this. This character means tail, by the way. This is all Red Book.
Well, and look how it's holding in his hand.
Oh yeah, looking into the future.
Or not just Heil Hitler.
No. This is
That's okay.
looking in the
Similar.
future. The future. Well, yeah, in a way, yes.
Interesting.
Very interesting, right?
That's actually very beautiful.
It is. And the guy who got it in 1964, he paid 25 cents for it. He told me.
Wow.
It was 2 posters, and he put it on a board.
Oh, okay. There's a seam in the middle.
Yeah, there's a seam in the middle.
Didn't even notice it. But it's just the general theme you're getting so far from what you're showing
Yes.
us is that the propaganda was used to create love and devotion to their
Right.
country,
Right.
which
right.
would then motivate people to work,
Right,
to feel
exactly.
good about working, that they were a part of
or
something.
hatred. Let me show you some hatred.
Okay.
But
Okay.
we have lots of those too.
Okay.
When, my wife spent 2 weeks in North Korea, and here's a kind of a typical North Korean poster. By the way, North Korea is the only country that we visited where you cannot just walk out of your hotel and walk down the street.
Really?
You can only move as a group in a little minibus, and you're in a hotel, and you only can move as a group.
Wow.
And then when you come to some place, they will let you out. But you cannot walk out of your hotel and just go down the street.
Go buy a soda or something.
Go buy a soda. Well, you cannot get any, but you cannot just walk.
Right.
Anyway, finders with us.
What are those?
People who are watching us.
Oh, like a chaperone kind of.
Yeah, like chaperones,
Okay.
yeah. I walked out of the hotel once in some town in North Korea, and they ran right after me, and they were not rough, but they said, sorry, you have to go back in.
Wow.
You're not allowed to go. But the reason I was going out is because I saw a poster I wanted to take a picture of.
Right.
You see an American soldier dropping a baby into a well.
It's the lower left one here.
Yellow left here.
The evil American
It's so
dropping
evil.
a baby.
So, yeah, absolutely. And by that time, we were kind of friendly with some of our minders. They spoke excellent English, by the way. And I said, tell me, in your heart of hearts, do you really, really believe that an American professional soldier would drop a baby in a well? You really believe
I mean,
that?
that's pretty cruel.
And he kind of looked up and said, it's only an idea. And I said, well, how would you like it if in America we had posters showing a North Korean soldier dropping American baby in the well? He said, I wouldn't like it at all. I
Right.
said, yeah,
That's pretty.
it's pretty
I
dramatic.
mean,
right?
if some of the Hollywood movies are correct, there's been some atrocities by soldiers of all countries.
Oh yeah, of course. But this, showing it like this with a desperate mother and all that kind of,
What
in a
is
way.
the what is the little symbol on the other soldier on the right, on the left there? See that little symbol on it?
Yeah, it looks like something radioactive actually.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and next to it is a poster with from Czech Republic that has to do with production and of steel, right?
Okay.
And that said this, they're working very hard to hit the war inciters. It means United States and Western countries, and this thing that is spelled with the raw iron says peace. And you see all these inciters.
Those are the world leaders over there.
Yeah, who
I see Churchill.
who are the war
Is that Roosevelt?
instigators. Yeah, there's Churchill. Here is this is our general. What's it with the corn cob pipe?
MacArthur.
MacArthur, yeah.
Okay. Is that Brezhnev down there in the middle, or is that too early for Brezhnev?
Too early for Brezhnev.
Okay.
This guy looks somewhat like Kissinger.
He just died, actually.
I know, yeah, I did. And this is the
About time.
Pope. The church was seen always as very reactionary. Now, long time ago, well, whatever is long, but in 1968, North Koreans captured this American spy ship, Pueblo.
Okay.
And it's still there in Pyongyang, in North Korea, and now it's an anti-American museum. Interesting thing is that this is a piece of United States in the middle of Pyongyang. Every single newlywed couple wants to have their picture taken in front of Pueblo.
I mean, is that not an example of the art of PR right there?
To them, it means
That's
America.
perfect.
We say spice ship, they say a piece of America, like this young couple.
Great shot. Great shot.
Here is a piece of American propaganda from World War II. Alaska, death trap for the Jap. Of course, they try to get illusions, right? So here is a trap catching the prototypical Japanese buck-teeth rat. This Army, Civilian, Navy, 13th Naval District. I wonder what the 12th Naval District was doing, but this is the 13th. We had pretty nasty posters too.
Right. I mean, I have Okinawan family members, right? And,
Yeah, right.
And, it's still funny though.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
you have to really kind of step away from your own beliefs or whatever, or your own aesthetics, I suppose, and look at it kind of in a contextual way. You
Right.
know, what happened, what was behind it.
Well, so comedy though is also a vehicle for propaganda.
Well, of course. Oh, absolutely.
Right.
This is from the Cultural Revolution. This was probably the teacher of this student with the dunce hat, a kneeling academic with a dunce hat.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah. Here are a couple of interesting things. You can use practically anything for propaganda. And can you use insects for propaganda?
Apparently so.
Of course you can. So in 1950s, when the new socialist countries came into power in Eastern Europe, as bad luck would have it, their potato fields were infested with a bug called the Colorado potato beetle.
Okay.
And they did not have enough money for, pesticides, and so some propagandist, a clever guy, looked at Colorado potato beetles and said, if you kind of squint your eyes, sort of looks like American flags, stars and stripes, right? Because you would probably say no, but people in Europe said yes.
Right.
And immediately, these are Americans, they're dropping these on our fields to destroy our young economy, to make us starve. Here's the book, Stop American Bug. Here they already have their flag, and people who said, yes, I saw the planes going, this is East Germany, over Mecklenburg, dropping these bugs right on our fields, in Thuringia too. And if you look at Colorado potato beetle with a magnifying glass, because you will see right away there's John Foster Dulles and Adenauer and Mussolini.
Oh, that's great.
This is from the Soviet press.
That's
And
great.
it was a total fabrication, but they got 2 years of propaganda out of it, so.
Well, and it's almost like the absurdity of it actually empowers the message.
That's true. I mean, it's so outlandish, it must be true.
Right.
That's a good point.
Or it makes it stick.
Makes it stick.
Right, makes you think about it. Okay.
And I read, I
Very
don't know if this is true, but I read a couple of years ago that they did this experiment. They actually took the Colorado potato beetles, dropped them from the planes in Germany, and they all died.
Right.
Now, the reason I remember this is because I lived in Czechoslovakia at that time. I was a little third grader, and our whole class went into a potato field. They gave us little burlap bags, and we were picking Colorado potato beetles
Oh, wow.
into little burlap bags. Could even get a little diploma that you were good at picking those beetles.
And then those would be used for that experiment or
No,
something?
no, no. They were just
Okay.
picking them up because they had no pesticides.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We tried to have fun. You pick up a bug, you say, Susan, what? Here.
Yeah, well, they should have made little bug parachutes for them.
Yeah, they could have gone more with this, yeah, but 2 years of propaganda was good enough.
That's you can really make propaganda out of anything.
Out of
if you
anything,
think about
absolutely.
it. Okay.
So here is an interesting group of posters. I realized I had no posters from Iran. So you remember, word propaganda in some countries is positive.
Right.
It's a good word. So I wrote a letter. I just said Ministry of Propaganda, Tehran, and I wrote in a letter, dear sir, you know, I have a museum of propaganda and I don't have anything from Iran. About a month later, I got a DVD with about 50 posters on it, all in low res, but good enough to print if you're careful. And these were all from 1980s when Iran and Iraq were locked in a deadly war. A lot of children died. And so these are Iranian posters. Here you see Saddam Hussein turning into a skeleton.
Right.
Here is again. Here is an interesting one. Usually they would blame America because there was a proxy war, you know, Iran and Iraq. The Soviet Union was behind one, we were behind the other. But you usually just see anti-American part of it. This particular artist actually even put Kremlin behind here.
See that?
Saying that we were both
Little shadow
proxies. We were both proxies. Not just the vampire of the West, but the Soviet Union was also guilty. So that was kind of unusual.
That's actually very beautiful, right?
Oh,
That
yeah.
little bat in there. And,
Oh yeah, those posters are great if you look at them.
yeah. Oh, so let's talk about this one. I can't help it.
Yeah, you know, that's when, well, since Henry Kissinger just died and he was Nixon's advisor, right? That's without a permission from our Congress, we were bombing the dickens out of Cambodia. And of course, he also said we should, you know, just bomb Vietnam into oblivion. So this is a picture from Cuba. All of these are from Cuba, showing Nixon as a murderer. Very effective poster.
But he's not a criminal.
Well, they don't say that he was
Little
a
joke.
criminal. They just said that
Well, he said that. I'm not a criminal.
I'm not a criminal.
Right.
Well, yeah, right, of course, but I'm not a criminal.
Right.
Yeah. Here is one with Angela Davis. I don't know if many Americans know who she was.
No.
But this was you know who Angela Davis was, right?
Well, I'm reading about it right now.
Yeah, she was accused of helping these accused here in Marin. This happened in Marin County. They say she smuggled a gun to, name has just escaped me, but, and they took a judge as a hostage. There was a shootout, the judge died,
Cuba?
they died. And Angela Davis, that was put on trial, but she was found not guilty. And after Gus Hall, who probably no one knows who that was, he was the first secretary of the United States Communist Party. When he died, she became head of the United States Communist Party. On her FBI wanted poster, she traveled all throughout Eastern Europe. And she is a professor at UC Santa Barbara. She may have retired, but I think she's still head of the US Communist Party. So that's another Cuban poster.
Well, I see it says she's stemming from a charge stemming from an armed courtroom takeover.
Yeah, that was right here in Marin Civic Center.
So,
There's even a memorial plaque.
knowing what I know about the courts,
Yeah.
I like her. Yeah.
We don't know if she actually smuggled the gun in, but she was found not guilty.
Says she was
She was
acquitted.
acquitted, yeah.
Right. Very interesting.
Yeah,
So much I
very
don't
interesting
know.
story. There's a lot of it. Here's an children's crusade against communism.
Okay.
Yeah, right. If you look very carefully, you'll see a brute ape with a bloody sword
Right.
back there. Okay, the last crusade was against Muslim. Children's crusade was against Muslims in year 1212, 1212. And this, they tell you, children should rally up and start another crusade against communism. I don't think that ever materialized. Okay, but here's an interesting poster
That may be coming though.
from this is United States propaganda.
Okay.
Okay, well, we have a lot. Here, I like this one. This is poking fun at the United States establishment who was prohibiting Chinese immigration. And it's whoever did this is making fun of the leading American politicians who are so anti-Asian, right? And one that I do like is foreigners not wanted by the order of Pat Irish Esquire. Like, you know, where did he come from, right? From Ireland.
But stereotypical name, Pat for Patrick. The
Yeah, for Patrick, yeah.
stereotypical
Well,
Irish name.
lot of these, like for instance in San Francisco, Kearney, you know, he was against Asians. He said they bring down the wages, you know, and see the go west, and now the train is you know, the poor Indian is running ahead of the train, and now they don't
About to get
go
run over.
east. Cheap labor is telling the same train, go east. There's a lot to unpack in this poster.
Yeah.
It's fascinating,
It
very
is.
clever.
Yeah.
This is a good one from Czech Republic. Shows this capitalist with his bag of gold. He's whipping these poor workers around the world. And it says here, capitalism has only one aim, to reach the highest profit by impoverishing people and through wars. And so that was a typical poster from 1950s.
I can't say I can argue with that.
No. So I put this in. Yeah, this particular this is Cuban poster too, and I think that George Jackson may have been the one that Angela Davis brought the gun to in Marin, and of course in the shootout everybody died. Nobody knows who started it, police or them. They had guns.
I'm gonna have to look that up. I've missed
Yeah,
that
yeah.
in my studies.
Yeah, yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah. Anyway, this we have lots of. This one is really interesting. Some of the Russian posters or Soviet posters were so advanced that, in fact, this art is called supremacist art. And the guy El Lisitsky who did this was in 1919, 2 years after Lenin took over, but before Stalin came in, because Stalin hated abstract art.
Okay.
And this supremacist art is very clever. You know, there was civil war right away, right? The Reds, the communists versus the whites, the royalists. And this poster says, with a red wedge, beat the whites. And you see the whites and the red wedge getting them. This is very, very graphically powerful poster from 1919 called Supremacists. And I noticed that BBC is using supremacist art in their marquee on television,
Really?
using this kind of thing. Yeah,
I'll
right.
have to watch for that.
Yeah,
It's very
supremacist.
symbolic and archetypal.
Totally, totally.
Which speaks
of
to the
course, when
subconscious.
Stalin became head after Lenin, he hated this. He wanted all paintings to look like photographs, you know, so that he didn't like that. But
Okay.
it was preserved. This is an interesting one.
Sure.
It's from Cuba again.
Right.
It says, hold up your end, Cuban women, in thriftiness, at work, in the defense, shore up the revolution. And so this poster exhorts the Cuban women to hold their own as equal to men, to do their part in fighting and working, in addition to cooking, doing laundry,
Right.
waiting in long lines, shopping, attending Fidel's long speeches, feeding children and husbands.
So
the women are much more equal than men.
well, I was just gonna say, well, what are the men doing if they're doing all this stuff? Are they sitting back smoking the Cuban cigars?
Drinking coffee
Right.
and talking about revolution. Good point.
Okay.
2 more of those Iranian posters.
Spirit of jihad.
Yeah, a little Iranian boy taking Iraqi prisoners of war.
So so even with all this, you couldn't but help but get a little bit religious because this jihad is a religious war, right?
That's true. And he actually may be already dead. It's his spirit that is winning over these prisoners of war.
It's hard to separate religion
Hard
and
to
politics,
separate.
isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let's
Okay.
see, what do we have on this side? Here is another Che Guevara.
Telescoping in.
Yeah, this one is from that Hungarian statues park. Again, 6 feet is about this much. This guy is big.
Wow.
This is from North Korea.
And of course,
This-
that
yeah.
size, just like you're overwhelmed
Oh,
by it
absolutely.
when you're in there, and so
Sure.
you just can't help but that's another subconscious.
Sure,
thing.
absolutely. This one is funny. It's also from the statues park. But when I looked at it, they looked like extraterrestrials. And it looked like they're saying, "Take me to your leader," or something.
It kind of does.
Yeah,
The way
yeah,
they have the eyes done there.
yeah. If you ever go to Budapest, don't forget to visit it.
Now, is that the correct way to pronounce Budapest, or is it Budapest?
They say Budapest.
Okay,
We say Budapest.
Okay, okay.
In 1968, the sound was crazy all around the world,
This is a
of
good
course,
one.
including France. And this was Hitler clutching de Gaulle's mask. You know, the students in Paris were revolting, and they say behind de Gaulle there's really Hitler. And this is an original poster, very valuable, from 1968, given to us by a French person.
Wow.
68 was a wild year everywhere, including in Chicago, the Democratic Convention. You know, remember that one?
It was a great year too. That was the year I was born.
Yeah, it was. That's the year when I came to the United States from Czechoslovakia.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Well, the history is just
Here
incredible.
is a wonderful oil painting that used to hang in my high school in Bratislava. And we took a group of students from there, and the school asked me, "What would you like?" And I said, "Well, you know, I cannot really." They were grateful that we took a group of their students to the United States. I always loved this painting. It hung between a second and a third story in my high school. I said, "Yeah, I really love that painting. I cannot really ask for it." It was painted by a famous Slovak academic painter. His name is Salaj. I think he painted like in 1951, 52. And it's his largest oil painting. Shows happy village people in Slovak village. They're grateful to this Soviet officer who probably just liberated the village from the Nazis. So they're bringing him flowers, and they're a little shy.
The little
The
kids
little
holding
boy's
the medal.
playing his medal. Good,
Right.
good. Yeah, they don't speak his language and he doesn't speak theirs, but they can communicate it well enough.
But it really comes through as warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, very much so.
And but yet
Yeah.
war is really what's behind it.
Yeah, it's very well done. And yeah, the school get it here. I had to get an export license, and now it's in a museum. Very happy.
Yeah.
Here's our little corner of items that are not from the last century.
I've been waiting
that
for
people
this.
brought us. Yeah, somebody brought us these cute slippers of Reagan and Nancy. I've never seen this before. Here is the
Wow.
famous Donald Trump pen that says, "I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread." Uh-oh. He needs a battery. People have been pressing it too much.
I think that's how people
me.
hear him anyway. When
I was best since the Hillary Clinton statue is laughing in kind of a strange laughter.
I like this. I want to point this out real quick. They Live, in reference to the movie.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
the what does that say? The Dankest War,
The dankest war.
2020.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know who that was for, but
So this is a little kind of an outlier wall that's not really referred to last century.
but stuff you can't pass up. If
No,
you're
you
gonna
couldn't
get it,
pass it.
right?
Now we have a little space here, so we put it here.
I like the Donald Trump presidential wall game.
Yeah, right.
Building the wall. That's hilarious.
These are interesting posters. After socialism ended in Czech Republic, they started making fun of this. They would take an original poster from usually early 50s and put some new writing on it to make it funny to them. So it says this poster, I remember from early 50s, was advertising working women cosmetics. But they put in a different sign now that says, like the sisters in the West, they would have burned their bras if there were any in the shops. So, here is another one. Sometimes there was no toilet paper in the shops. Luckily, there wasn't much food either.
I mean,
So this is making fun.
morbidly funny.
Yeah, morbidly funny. This is also from Hungary. It's called, we have South Park, they have the East Park. And here you got Che Guevara, Lenin, Marx, and Engels.
There's actually some episodes of that show that are genius. In
Oh, absolutely.
Some of the issues they're making
yes.
fun of and people they make fun
Yes.
of. Some little lowbrow, right? But
Lowbrow.
but some
Oh,
are-
yeah, of course. You think here are the three terrors instead of three tenors.
Okay, yeah. Get a shot of that one. Three tenors instead of three tenors. That's it.
That's kind of. This picture I took in Uzbekistan. A lot of Lenins. And the guy on the left is Trotsky.
Right here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Red Felix.
And then Che and Castro.
Yes, right.
So that's a classic picture.
That's a classic picture. I think it's maybe Fidel was leaving. It says Bienvenido Fidel. And maybe he was going somewhere. Tres comandantes.
Who's the guy on the right? Do you know?
Yes, Che. The one in the middle is Camilo. And the one on the right is Fidel. Yeah, Camilo, I know who he is. Camilo.
Okay. You don't hear
The name
about him
just
as
skipped
much.
me. No, not so much.
Right.
Here is an interesting little tableau where socialist countries bordered with the West, say where Slovakia bordered with Austria. There was a 500-volt electric fence, so you couldn't leave, right? This young guy touched the fence and died instantly, which is what 500 volts will do to you. And the sign says, watch out, border area, entrance by permission only. Then, of course, they took it all away, all down. Now there's a monument to people who died trying to cross that electrified fence with like bullet holes in there. That's me standing here. And I discovered an interesting picture. This is exactly the same sign that I have here. And that's when we're removing the border fence. This is River Morava, and behind it was Austria. Now that very same place is this. It's a bike path. And people today don't know that just a few decades ago, they would have died if they had gone there. It's exactly the same picture.
Incredible. And are those real barbed wire?
Yeah,
sections?
this is the real, I chopped some as they were rolling it up. I got some for myself.
Yeah, barbed wire. What a symbol that is. Just by
Yeah,
itself.
but a lot of people died, grabbing those wires.
And are these like
Oh yeah, I bought this in Russia. It's
like a Russian egg? kind
yeah,
of thing?
it's like the nesting dolls, and these are the cynical, because those nesting dolls are smiling, but this one is different.
All right.
Yeah. Here's an interesting poster. We didn't learn, right, from Russians, and we went into Afghanistan. You thought we'd learn, right? Afghanistan war was so bad for the Soviet Union, so many people died, that the Soviet government, and they would never do such a thing, felt compelled to make a poster for the Soviet people trying to explain itself why we are bleeding in Afghanistan. And so made this poster for consumption in the Soviet Union called The Afghan People Are Building Their New Life. And you see all these happy Afghan people. Here's a guy who has a TV on his donkey. And again, it was to explain to your own people to why so many Russians were dying there and why it was so bad. It's for a good cause. That the Soviet government felt compelled to explain itself to their own people like this is very unique. As far as I know, they've never done that before or since.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just national glorification, that's just one of the
one of the
purposes
chapters. Right,
of,
right. Here we have an interesting thing. I took this picture in Pyongyang, North Korea. It's the reunification monument. It's over a highway that goes from the capital down to the border, to the South Korean border. The highway is 6 to 8 lanes, but it's totally empty because there are no cars. So we took it. We went down to the DMZ from the north.
There's 6 lanes of highway in between
Yeah,
that? Oh, okay.
And so we went there. At one point halfway, we stopped and we danced on a highway. There was a little refreshment stand that played music. So we were just kind of dancing on it. There was no cars. Also, if you come home from work, it's on Friday, again, 3:30 to 5:30. And on Saturday, we are open from noon to 5.
Okay.
So then what we also do, maybe your viewers would like to know, and that's something I really enjoy doing, is we bring groups of high school students, even college students, and they can make an appointment with me and come at any other time. We set up the chairs for them, and I give them a little lecture about propaganda, and then we let them go around, maybe choose one particular poster, write an essay about it. And we have been discovered by some teachers now who actually put our museum in their curriculum. And from Dominican University, we get some private high school, Athenian from Danville, some from San Francisco. So I really love to have high school kids here, and we talk about, our purpose is educational. We don't want to turn them into Republicans or Democrats or whatever. What we want them to do is become sensitive to when they're being propagandized. And then we tell them if there's something that they're interested in, they should study up on that themselves. Because today we are surrounded by so many issues. Many of them look totally intractable. And people who support these different issues, they just want your yes or no, you're with us or against us.
Right.
And all these issues are much more complex, much too much complex for just yes, no answer.
Right.
There's no, the answering in a binary way does not even begin to do it. So I tell them, listen, it's really big of you if somebody asks you, and if you don't know anything about it, it's perfectly okay to say, listen, I don't know enough about this subject, so I cannot really say yes or no. And if this is kind of subject that you're really interested in, say nuclear energy or whatever, right? And you're really interested, then study up on that, become educated on that, and you are okay. And then, of course, they'll come and ask you. They will not really want your opinion. They just want to know yes or no. But you can tell them, if you're interested, I'll be happy to talk to you about it because I've been studying it. So maybe that is a proper way to do it. But today, young people are so overwhelmed with propaganda, on all sides, that they really don't know where to go.
Right.
The other interesting thing is, and I asked them, I used this as an opportunity to learn, and I said, tell me, let's say you have your friends, and there is some sort of an issue, and they all agree in one way, but you disagree with them, and you have your own idea that is not in sync with your friends. Would you share it with them? And they all say no.
Right.
And they all say, because I don't want to be defriended, I don't want to be excluded from the group.
That's right.
And I even ask them, what about your parents? Say your parents, have a certain belief and yours is different. Would you share that with your parents? And most of them say no.
Right.
And that's kind of disquieting that we are afraid to discuss issues. That because we're afraid that we're gonna be defriended, or if you're older that you're gonna lose your job, or whatever. And we should be able to talk openly, about things.
We used to be able to do that more politically,
Yeah.
whereas now is we can't.
We can't.
Just as
No.
one example.
No, there's a tremendous fallout, if you say disagree with your friends or with your family or whatever.
So I think part of the
the information overload is kind of a PR technique or propaganda technique as well, because once you're overwhelmed, you're like, the metaphor that comes to mind is like plankton and a whale. The whale shoots the little mini plankton with a sound wave and it shocks them.
Right.
And then the whale comes in and scoops them up, right?
Scoops the whole krill.
And that information overload kind of creates that same thing.
Right.
And especially in young people.
Yeah,
So
very true.
So for you to have this museum and are suggesting or teaching
Yes,
kids that they have to think for themselves
it's a
and
big
to be able to
thing.
hold up a barrier and not let that barrier be penetrated
Right.
so they can make their own opinions despite the crowd, right?
Right, right.
That is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, I wish
Recommend.
we get more, and so I'm really happy that that we now are getting groups of students here.
Right.
And you know, we need to be educated and make up our own mind. I mean, there's certainly plenty of sources. You know, if you're interested in something, and there's not enough hours in a day for you to bone up or to cover everything that you are surrounded with.
Right.
So most of it just say yes or no, and whatever, I don't want to be dissed by my friends. But that's really not how democracy should be working,
Right.
But I think we are moving away from that to a much more kind of an authoritarian, situation.
I would agree, 100%.
Yeah, right. And that's unfortunate.
It is, but with museums like this, standing tall and being willing to educate young people, I've got love in my heart for you, Brother Tom and Sister Loka.
Unfortunately, there's not enough museums like ours.
That's right. This needs to be part of every curriculum. The teaching of propaganda.
I'm absolutely
and emotional
right.
appeals
Yeah.
and how not to fall for those all the time just because someone's...
I'm working on trying to make this museum also virtual online.
Okay.
So if you don't live here, but somewhere in Wisconsin, whatever, that you could actually go online and look at all these, zoom in on the tags and think about it and maybe have
That's a wonderful
an exchange of opinions. So that's my that's our kind of a goal that we would like to do next year, is to create a virtual museum this way.
And I also want to mention too, before we close, you have a reading room
Yes.
with a wall full of public relations or propaganda related books.
But before we go there, let me show you this part of the museum.
Okay.
We changed.
Let's do a quickie,
Yes. Before we go, I want to show you something funny. This is from Great Britain. Shows Hitler with a pincushion butt. It's right there.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Sitting on Churchill's desk, I'm sure.
And it came in a funny box, which unfortunately I don't have, but it said like, stick it to him, and it had all these kind of writings on it, but I think it's rather hilarious.
Is this person about to get kicked too? It looks like.
Yeah, these are all from the Cultural Revolution. These are all professors. These are those revolutionary operas, and look at this, his foot is on his professor's back, this one on the right.
Yeah.
Right.
And just a wonderful array of pins and little medals.
We have so much stuff here,
The little Communist Party manual right there, that looks
Oh, yeah.
authentic.
Yes, we have everything.
Okay, let's take a quick look over here.
Yes, so, yes, for girls and boys.
Right? It's a happy thing. It's okay.
Yes. Okay, let's see. This is an interesting part of the museum. Actually, before COVID, we used to have movie nights. See, we have a screen up there.
Okay.
And we have a big collection of propaganda movies. Most of them are comedies, from different countries with subtitles. We wanted to make it kind of light. And we actually had our groupies, every Thursday night. They would come here with cheese and wine.
Wow.
And we would watch a movie and then talk. And so the COVID stopped it.
Okay.
But this, by the way, was given to us by someone already all framed.
A Nazi authentic, is that an
Yeah,
SS
it's
or
right there. Yeah, it's a pilot
a pilot uniform?
uniform. Yeah, given to
Wow,
us.
and I see Die Stürmer over there, that's the Nazi
Yeah, right.
propaganda
so, well,
vehicle.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because this is an interesting exhibition that we have right now that your viewers will probably really enjoy. one day we got a telephone call from a gentleman. His name was Robert Brew from the East Bay.
Okay.
And he was like 97 or 98 years old. And he told us a story. He was a flyer during World War II. His plane was shot down. He jumped out of the plane through this chute on the bottom, and he started falling. He pulled the ripcord, but the parachute didn't open. And he said, well, I guess this is my end. You know, so where am I gonna die? Let's see.
You can only imagine how that must feel.
Yeah, right. And he said, I don't want to die with a helmet on. So he took off his helmet. This Mr. Brew.
Yes, he's falling from a...
He's falling from the plane over Denmark.
Yes.
And he takes off his helmet, and the parachute opened up. He was saved. He was picked up by Germans and put in a stalag, a special, you know, camp for pilots. And so they were not treated like in a concentration camp. And one thing that they did to him in the camp is that every day he would get a copy of Der Stürmer, which was the, talking about yellow journalism, you know,
Right.
that newspaper was so bad that if you were an educated Nazi, you wouldn't be caught dead with that newspaper.
Right.
It was for the lumpen
It was a
proletariat.
tabloid.
Tabloid, total tabloid. And I have a copy of it right here. And the thing about Der Stürmer was that on the back page, you always had cartoons. And they were always anti-Semitic, anti-American, anti-Soviet. They were pretty vile. But he started collecting them.
Okay.
And had a nice big collection. And after the war, he brought them back to the East Bay and put them in a booklet. Now he was 98, and he was afraid that after his death, his kids will just pick it up and throw it in the garbage.
Sure.
So he called us, and here you can see my wife and me with Mr. Brew, and offered, here he is, with his things, and he offered us these, we looked at these cartoons, we said, oh my God, we can do the whole exhibition out of them. So we took it, we picked the cartoons, we enlarged them, we translated them from German, and even that wasn't enough, so I wrote little blurbs about each one of them, and we divided them into anti-Semitic, anti-USA, anti-British, and then they gave us more information, his family, his pictures, the stalag where he was, his plane that crashed.
I mean, I'm looking at this right here,
Yeah, right.
and that just, it's
He's
his
working
own
on-
notes or his own, like,
notes,
hand-drawn
yeah,
map
yeah.
right there.
Yes, yes.
Incredible.
And this is his family today. Anyway, 2 weeks before we opened this exhibition, he passed away. But he knew that we were already, putting this together. His family came, and they really were touched, that we did this with his cartoons.
Well, and he, at the end of his life, he's thinking, I'm contributing to the
Right,
future.
right.
And what a great feeling
And
that must be.
they didn't throw away, his cartoons remained and were used put to good use.
I can't help but notice an Adolf Hitler book.
Yes.
Is that?
Yes, we actually have quite a lot of them. This one was actually, I think, they would hand, I think this is the one, they put in all these pictures by hand. These are, if you look
Can you
at
hold
these
that up a little
pictures,
bit? Yeah, there you go.
they're all photographs that were pasted in by
Glued
some
in.
prisoners, maybe some Jewish prisoners. These pictures were all put into this book
Incredible.
with real photographs.
Wow, that's a
Talk
wonderful
about
kind of-
about work, yeah.
Well, and you think that we talked about the E.L. Bernays memoir being over $200 on Amazon.
Right.
That's one
This
of
would be amazing.
thousands of dollars. On
Yes, definitely.
Incredible.
So we have a lot of valuable things for people to come, and we have people who come here 2, 3, 4, 5 times, And
I'll come back because we couldn't, because camera guy Mike over here, he and I went and visited. We spent an hour here, and we know we didn't see everything.
And you didn't read any of the tags and all that, yeah.
A few of them, right?
Few of them.
But we definitely had to skip stuff.
Yes,
just for time.
of course, yeah. These are really interesting posters. These are probably from like Pittsburgh, or they're written in Yiddish, in Slovak, in Polish, in Italian, and this is Work for Liberty and Democracy, wonderful poster. We love those. Every workshop bench is a trench. Every machine is a gun. March on to victory. This is from First World War.
Yeah, I'm looking at right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And if you agitated against the war, that means you're German. Yeah. We have a local artist, by the way, who did a copy of Guernica. Pretty good copy. It's smaller than Guernica, but he did a good job. He put it here. It's available for sale, but I don't know if anybody will buy it. So,
But that's
we love it here.
That's a famous Pablo Picasso.
Yeah, famous Pablo Picasso, and it's really done perfectly. Except he made a little different, little change. Instead of light bulb filament, he put in a atomic nucleus. That's the only difference.
That's a subtle but very poignant
Subtle but
difference.
here is a map of all the people who have visited museums so far, and
Okay.
it's really amazing.
Look, there's my little pin right there, Chico, California.
Oh, Chico, great. Home of PSA Airlines, right?
No.
Didn't they come? Weren't they from Chico?
No, not
Remember
that I know of.
PSA, the planes with the smile?
That's
and-
right. Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Oh,
But yeah, because
Anyway.
we just have a small airport up there.
yeah. Anyway, so quite a lot.
Okay, so
Interesting.
let's close with this right
Yeah,
here.
here's the library.
Because
and
this
we-
is very valuable.
Yes, we have lots of books. We do. Unfortunately, we don't have Bernays, but you gave me an idea to do that.
The
we
memoirs
tried to,
of
memoirs, yeah. We tried to divide his in Nazi Germany, China, biographies, Russia. You can sit here for hours. Here
That's
are
what I was
propaganda poster books, and from communist posters to all kinds of
So
posters.
movies, books, displays,
Everything.
you've got a wealth of
You name it,
information.
we have it.
And then just the fact that you're targeting the young people to
Yes.
get them to see what it is, to teach
Yes.
them to think for themselves,
Right.
which is
That's-
so important. You can't overlook
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Yes.
This has been a real incredible tour. Tom, is there anything
Well, I hope your viewers enjoy it and come here. and take a-
What's your website?
It's www.museumofpropaganda.org.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to share this link with you once we get it edited and posted,
Great.
and feel free to show it on your website as well.
Wonderful. It
It's
was a pleasure.
Absolutely
Thank you
a
for
pleasure.
coming.
Yes, the pleasure
Thank you,
was
Mike.
mine.
Your hand must be hurting you
Thank
by
you
now.
to our wonderful guy Mike Human for
Yes.
for your time as well. And I'll send you that link and I'll be in touch.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right.